Hello and welcome to the Shurley English Workshop Series, designed to present topics and various teaching techniques to enhance your skills as an educator. This month we are featuring the right foundation to provide you with a clear progression of skills students need to become competent, confident writers. I plan to show you how to fit the pieces of the puzzle together to help students make the connection between grammar, skills, and writing to build the right foundation, Shurley style. Let's begin with a couple of definitions. The first one is communication. Communication is the spoken or written exchange of information between people. Being able to communicate effectively is perhaps the most important of all life skills. Shurley English is dedicated to giving students the foundation they need for communication success. The second definition I'd like to share is of language. Language is the system of words and the methods of combining them that people use to express thoughts and feelings to each other. Students must understand that the study of language helps them build the right foundation. To get started, we need to establish long-term and short-term goals and an action plan for success. The long-term goal is what we want to achieve as an end result. Of course, the long-term goal is to use language competently to communicate thoughts and ideas in both speaking and writing. Fostering competent, confident communicators requires an action plan with doable steps. Short-term goals are the doable steps that get us to our long-term goals. You are probably thinking, that's why I'm here, but how do I do it? How do I teach my students to communicate with competence and confidence? At Shurley English, we believe you have to teach students about language and how to logically make the grammar and writing connection. To make the grammar and writing connection, students must have a strong foundation in vocabulary, grammar, composition, and writing for all purposes. When the connection between these skills is made, students will have the competence and confidence to communicate their thoughts and ideas. Here's the action plan for success. The first step is to build student competence. There are two main requirements to build competence. Competence means having the knowledge and skills to do something well. To acquire knowledge, students must learn the concepts, principles, and information about the subject through education or training. Knowledge is power, but there's one more requirement to ensure competence. Students must also learn the skills necessary to use knowledge proficiently. Skills are the things about a subject that allow you to perform certain tasks with proficiency. The second part of the plan of action is to build confidence, and there's only one requirement necessary: practice. Self-assurance in one's own abilities is the feeling of confidence, and to gain it, students must invest their time practicing the knowledge and skills they've learned. As the teacher, you must provide ample opportunities for them to do so. Today's presentation will apply the action plan for success to language arts, but the action plan for success can be applied to any subject area you teach. Teaching students to become competent, confident communicators means helping them build knowledge, skills, and practice in language arts. To build the right foundation, we must provide the knowledge, skills, and practice students need in all areas where language occurs. The 5 modes of language arts include listening, speaking, viewing, reading, and writing. Today we will focus on writing. I will be using a 4-quadrant model to break down the elements of the right foundation. We will look at the connections between vocabulary, grammar, composition, and writing for all purposes. These elements are essential to good writing and help students make the grammar-writing connection in a logical, sequential way. Let's begin. Quadrant 1 is vocabulary. Students need a broad vocabulary to communicate thoughts and feelings. The instructional goal is to provide them with the vocabulary skills and strategies they need to learn words and their meanings with interest and curiosity. Students need an understanding of as many words as possible along with their meaning in different contexts because words are our primary means of communication. A broad vocabulary is essential to good writing. The words a student knows and uses will directly affect their word choice and voice as they communicate. We must learn to apply the action plan for success to accomplish this goal. It will take the knowledge, skills, and practice of these key skills to develop a broad vocabulary. The key skills include the alphabet, phonics, rhyming words, spelling, reference skills, figurative language, sound devices, word study that includes syllabication, etymology, analogies, synonym and antonym word choices, and comprehension skills like context clues, inferences, and drawing conclusions. I'll show you some useful ways to incorporate some of these skills using proven teaching and modeling strategies. As I introduce them, keep in mind that each student processes information uniquely, so you will need to tailor instruction by incorporating teaching methods that address preferred learning styles. Most of the teaching and modeling strategies I will show you today will address all learning styles. Are you ready to get started? The first proven strategy I'd like to share that will teach students how to expand their vocabulary is the use of a vocabulary notebook. You can help students create a vocabulary notebook at the beginning of the year. Keeping a personal vocabulary notebook is an excellent habit for students to form with long-lasting benefits. As students are introduced to new vocabulary words, they are taught to write them in their notebook using some consistent steps. Students will be required to use a dictionary and a thesaurus to study a word's meaning, history, synonyms, and antonyms. They will record the information they gather about the word in their notebook. Another strategy to enhance student vocabulary is to study word analogies. Word analogies help students develop a deep understanding of words by exploring meaningful relationships. Analogies help students form logical connections between words. Analogies can be studied and recorded in the vocabulary notebook. The vocabulary notebook will serve as a personal reference students can rely on to record new words and analogies. As these entries are frequently reviewed, students will be more likely to integrate the new words into their speaking and writing. Let's take a look at how students might learn to record information about a new vocabulary word in their vocabulary notebooks. Keep in mind that the skill level will vary based on grade level expectations. Ready? Word. Urgent. Definition. Very important. Synonym. Important. Antonym. Unimportant. Sentence. My dad received an urgent call from his boss. Etymology. Word history of urgent. Latin root. Ergere. Definition. To press verbally. Other words from the root. Urge. Urgently. Urgency. Topic-related words. Emergency. Ambulance. Critical. Disaster. Analogy incorporating the word urgent. Urgent is to important, as answer is to reply. Relationship. Synonym. Thinking process. Just as urgent means nearly the same as important, answer means nearly the same as reply. Therefore, this is a synonym analogy. Now let's take a look at another useful vocabulary strategy that can be included as students' writing skills grow. It's an activity we call power words. This strategy helps students learn to think consciously and carefully about their word choices. The strategy teaches students to turn weak words into dynamic ones that create clear pictures in the minds of the reader. With the knowledge, skills, and practice of this strategy, students will learn to use forceful verbs, lively adjectives, strong adverbs, and expressive nouns to ignite their writing. During word time, power word activities are quick and easy to do. Students recite the first word in each category and then recite the power word. These examples help students learn to improve their own word choices. Let me give you an example. Power words, nouns. Journal becomes chronicle. Honesty becomes integrity. Verbs. Show becomes indicate. Frowned becomes grimaced. Adjectives. Exceptional becomes unique. Gloomy becomes pessimistic. Adverbs. Finally becomes ultimately. Always becomes without exception. As individual vocabulary skills are introduced, reinforced, and mastered, it's important to keep in mind that these are the skills students will eventually use to improve their vocabulary during the revision stage of the writing process. It's so easy to combine these skills into a list of word choice strategies for students to use as a reference. To strengthen a piece of writing, students may want to make synonym, antonym, and word choice changes. They might also want to add words, delete words, or make no changes to some words at all. A list of word choice strategies like this one is an excellent strategy to provide your students. There are many ways to help students increase their vocabulary. These 3 strategies can help. Let's move on to the next quadrant necessary to build the right foundation. Quadrant 2, Grammar. Formal grammar instruction teaches students to categorize words as parts of speech. Then, students are taught how the parts of speech are arranged to write effective sentences. Grammar is defined as the study of how sentences are built. In fact, grammar provides the building blocks for writing. As students learn to understand the structure of language, writing improves. During Quadrant 2, we must apply the action plan for success. It will take the knowledge, skills, and practice of these key skills to develop a strong grammar foundation. Students must learn parts of speech, subject-verb agreement, sentence structure, capitalization, punctuation, usage, and tenses. I want to show you some useful ways to teach grammar skills using proven teaching and modeling strategies. The first proven strategy to increase grammar knowledge is the use of jingles. Jingles are rhythmic definitions used to teach students about the parts of speech and other grammar functions. The amazing thing about incorporating jingles is that you can sing them or chant them. It's not how you practice the jingles, it's that you practice the jingles. The repetition of the information the jingle provides increases students' knowledge. Let me show you an example using the adjective jingle. I'll chant it for you. Ready? An adjective modifies a noun or a pronoun. An adjective asks, what kind? An adjective asks, which one? An adjective asks, how many? To identify an adjective, go, ask, get. Where do I go to a noun or a pronoun? What do I ask? What kind, which one, or how many? What do I get? An adjective. Practicing grammar jingles is a proven strategy with long-lasting benefits. Allow me to share a few of them. First of all, jingles are a fun way to learn parts of speech. Singing or chanting a definition is a lot more fun than simply viewing and reading a definition from a book. Another huge benefit of reciting grammar definitions using jingles is that they serve as a mnemonic device. A mnemonic device is a proven learning technique used to aid information retention or retrieval in the human memory. Here's another benefit. Jingles provide the background knowledge students need to analyze sentences. Finally, jingles help build confidence. As students practice them daily during grammar time and learn to apply the information during sentence classification, confidence soars. Speaking of sentence classification, did you know that parsing sentences is an effective way to develop critical thinking skills? Determining the role each word plays in a sentence is another grammar strategy used in Shurley English to provide the right foundation. We call the logical sequential strategy the question and answer flow. During instruction, students learn an oral set of questions and answers to determine the role each word plays in a sentence. Students also learn to label each part of speech during the process. Perhaps the greatest benefit of learning how to parse sentences is that the learned skills can also be applied when writing sentences. The question and answer flow teaches students a logical method to write complete sentences with proper conventions. Let me show you how the question and answer flow works. Students are given a sentence that contains only the parts of speech they have learned so far. Then, using a logical sequential order, they are taught to use a question and answer process to help them identify parts of speech. They will learn to label and classify the core parts of the sentence first, and then follow a distinct order of operations to label and classify the other words in the sentence. A skill check is also included in the question and answer flow to check for certain skills. Students learn to include additional parts of speech to the question and answer flow as they are taught. Allow me to demonstrate. The 5 cargo ships sailed slowly away. What sailed slowly away? Ships. Subject noun. What is being said about ships? Ships sailed. Verb. Sailed how? Slowly. Adverb. Sailed where? Away. Adverb. What kind of ships? Cargo. Adjective. How many ships? 5. Adjective. The. Article adjective. Subject noun verb pattern 1 skill check. No prepositional phrases. Period statement. Declarative sentence. Go back to the verb. Divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. Imagine each student owning this depth of knowledge. The question and answer flow teaches students to label and classify each word in the sentence with competence, and then provides the repetition necessary to build confidence. Teaching students how to use the question and answer flow has many benefits. First, it helps students develop critical thinking skills. The Q&A flow teaches students the connections between the words in the sentence. It also allows for self-correction. And it appeals to a variety of learning styles. Students see, hear, speak, and label the parts of speech. Students learn to label the subject, noun, and verb in the sentence first. Then, one at a time, additional parts of speech are added. The question and answer flow provides the building blocks for writing good sentences. The question and answer flow helps students transition into writing good sentences with ease, using the next strategy I'd like to share with you called a sentence blueprint. A sentence blueprint is a strategic plan for writing sentences. The strategy teaches students to write sentences from grammar labels they are learning. Here's how it works. Following the grammar labels provided, students must think of words that fit each label and make sense. They will follow the same order of operations of the question and answer flow to write their sentence. Following the order of the question and answer flow, students must choose a subject for their sentence first. They can recite the noun jingle to help them decide who or what they want to write about. They will write their subject word beneath the subject noun label. This student chose the word ponies as their subject noun. Next, for the verb label, they have to think of a verb that tells what the subject does. The verb should make sense with the subject, so they go to the subject noun and ask the verb question, what is being said about ponies? Ponies? Pranced was the word choice this student selected as their verb, and they wrote the word pranced beneath the verb label. Following the same order as the question and answer flow, the student moves to the right and notices that they must come up with 3 adverbs. For the first adverb, the student goes to the verb and asks an adverb question. Once they select an adverb to answer the question, they will write it beneath the adverb label. The student asked, pranced how? The word choice they selected was eagerly. Moving ahead, they have to come up with another adverb, so they go back to the verb and ask an adverb question. This time, the student chose to ask the question where. Pranced where? Their word choice for this adverb was the word nearby. Now they have to come up with another adverb, so they go back to the verb and ask an adverb question. This time they ask the question when. It sounds like this. Pranced when? The word choice they selected was today. Now the student goes in reverse order in the same order they used the question and answer flow, and they see they have to come up with 2 adjectives and an article adjective to modify the subject noun. For the first adjective, they go to the subject noun and ask an adjective question to help determine their word choice. This student asked, what kind of ponies? Young was their word choice. For the next adjective, they asked a different adjective question. They asked, how many ponies? Their word choice was the word 2. Next, they must come up with the appropriate article adjective for the sentence. They selected the word the and they capitalized it because they know that it's the first word in the sentence. Also notice that the student has already punctuated the sentence. Students learn the 5 parts of a complete sentence include a subject, verb, complete sense, a capital letter at the beginning, and an end mark at the end. The student's original sentence, written from the sentence blueprint, says, the 2 young ponies pranced eagerly nearby today. Eventually, students are taught how to apply word choice strategies to revise their original sentence. They have learned to strengthen the vocabulary by making synonym, antonym, or complete word changes, as well as adding or deleting words if need be. Notice the student made no change at all to the article adjective. 3 was a word change from 2. Old is an antonym for young. Horses is a synonym for ponies. Strutted is a synonym for pranced. Proudly was a word change from eagerly. Around was a word change from nearby. The student also decided to delete the word today. Their revised sentence says, the 3 old horses strutted proudly around. Using a sentence blueprint has several benefits. First of all, it transfers grammar knowledge to the writing process. They also build revision skills, especially when students learn to use word choice strategies to revise their vocabulary. Finally, a major benefit is that sentence blueprints use subject-specific language to analyze, discuss, and improve students' writing. Let's recap the proven strategies to teach students how to make good sentences during the grammar quadrant: jingles, sentence classification, and sentence blueprints. Now let's move to the 3rd quadrant necessary to build the right foundation: composition. The overarching instructional goal of this quadrant is to teach students to understand the process of organizing sentences into paragraphs and paragraphs into longer pieces of writing following the writing process. At its most basic level of use, writing is a tool for communication, a way of giving and receiving information. We must teach students to have good writing skills so that they can communicate successfully. Good writers seem to know how to say things in just the right way to make readers want to keep reading. Good writers use certain writing traits that make their writing effective. During Quadrant 3, students must learn to apply the action plan for success. It will take the knowledge, skills, and practice of sentence structure, usage, the writing process, effective writing traits, writing forms or purposes, and writing rubrics to develop a strong foundation in composition. Let's take a look at a proven strategy that teaches students how to go from a blank sheet of paper to a finished piece of writing with competence and confidence. It's called the writing process, and it includes 6 steps. Step 1, Prewriting. Step 2, Rough Draft. Step 3, Revising. Step 4, Editing. Step 5, Final Paper. And Step 6, Publishing. In using the writing process, your students will be able to break writing into manageable chunks and focus on producing a quality piece of writing. The second strategy to help develop composition skills is known as the writing traits. These traits are a teaching, modeling, and assessing strategy that benefit both teachers and students. Writing traits provide a common vocabulary so teachers can help students learn to think about their writing throughout the entire writing process. The effective traits of writing are consistent from grade level to grade level. The first writing trait focuses on ideas. Ideas are the content, theme, and message a student wishes to convey. The second trait is organization. Organization is the structure of the writing. Knowing how to organize sentences into paragraphs will make writing more effective and help the reader understand what is written. The third trait of effective writing is word choice. Students need the knowledge and skills to choose precise, expressive words to make an impression. Word choice is the vocabulary used to convey meaning. The fourth trait of effective writing is voice. The writing voice relies on how students use words to express themselves. It's the personal tone of their words that bring their writing to life. The fifth writing trait is sentence fluency. Sentence fluency is the rhythm and flow of a student's writing, and it's created by using a variety of sentence structures and patterns. The sixth writing trait is centered on conventions. Students must have the knowledge and skills necessary to use correct capitalization, punctuation, spelling, and grammar as they construct sentences, paragraphs, essays, and other forms of writing. As we continue to focus on composition strategies to help students learn to organize sentences into paragraphs and paragraphs into longer pieces of writing, I'd like to focus on the graphic organizer. Teaching students to use a graphic organizer is a strategy that helps them gather and group their ideas on paper. The pre-writing map is only one type of graphic organizer, and it is used during pre-writing. Other graphic organizers include Venn diagrams, clusters, and writing outlines. Writing outlines are a graphic organizer that helps bridge students into step 2 of the writing process, the first draft. Just as it is important to organize ideas, it is also important to organize sentences. A writing outline gives students a visual guide to accomplish this goal. The writing outline teaches students how to organize sentences into paragraphs by developing an introduction, body, and conclusion. As their knowledge, skills, and practice increases, students will learn to organize paragraphs into different types of writing. Let me show you another proven strategy to build composition skills. Step 3 in the writing process is revising. During this step, students learn to find ways to improve word choices and sentences in their rough draft. A proven strategy to help them is for you to model revision strategies and teach them how to use a checklist for following the effective writing traits. Shurley English provides a checklist to show students how to revise to improve their rough draft for ideas, organization, word choices, voice, and sentence fluency. Eventually, students will be able to use the checklists to revise their rough draft on their own. They will learn to write revisions in the blank spaces on the rough draft and draw lines through the words or sentences that they want to delete or replace. The next strategy to build composition skills is strategy number 5, model editing strategies. Shurley English provides a checklist for you to model how to edit the rough draft to correct mistakes in capitalization, punctuation, spelling, and grammar. The editing checklist focuses on one writing trait: conventions. When editing a mistake, students will learn to write the correction above the word. Another effective strategy proven to help students develop good composition skills is explained in suggestion number 6. This strategy is called a revising and editing schedule, and it provides students an opportunity to collaborate with others. The revising and editing schedule guidelines teach students how to work with a partner or small group to review each other's writing and offer suggestions for improvement using a writing rubric as a checklist. Writing rubrics serve as checklists that describe the elements of good writing, from content development and organization to sentence structure and grammar. When students understand these elements and the criteria for earning a top grade, they incorporate this knowledge into the writing process. Improved writing is often the result. Shurley English curriculum provides many proven strategies to foster good composition skills. Here's a recap. Teach students to follow the steps of the writing process. Make sure they have a solid understanding of the effective writing traits. Teach them to use graphic organizers throughout the writing process. Model revision and editing strategies and teach students to use revising and editing checklists. Allow for students to collaborate with others following the revising and editing steps of the writing process, and give students access to writing rubrics. Are you ready to take a look at the final quadrant of the right foundation? It's called Writing for All Purposes. The goal of Quadrant 4 is to teach students that there's a reason or purpose for writing, and each reason determines the form or genre of writing required. Once they learn the elements of each writing genre, students will be able to write for all purposes. After choosing a topic, students must decide whether their purpose for writing is to inform, persuade, entertain, or explain their ideas to the reader. Clarifying a specific purpose for writing requires conscious planning and skill. Writing frequently for various purposes will increase critical thinking and writing confidence. Students must learn to apply the knowledge, skills, and practice necessary to develop a strong foundation to write for all purposes. During pre-writing, students will determine their purpose for writing based on how they want to affect their reader. A writer's purpose determines the type of writing genre. For instance, if a student wants to describe something, they will follow the guidelines for descriptive writing. If they want to tell a story, they will follow the guidelines for narrative writing. If their purpose is to explain or inform, students will follow the guidelines for expository writing. Sometimes their purpose is to persuade or convince others. If that is the purpose, students will need to know the guidelines for persuasive writing. What about those times when a student's purpose is to entertain? That's when the guidelines for creative writing will be required. Lastly, the elements of comparison writing are necessary when a student wishes to compare two or more things. Since each purpose for writing has certain required elements, students will learn strategies to help them gather and organize ideas during pre-writing. Strategies to organize sentences into paragraphs and essays are also important when writing the rough draft. Let's take a look at some graphic organizers for the four most common genres of writing: expository, persuasive, descriptive, and narrative. Students will use expository writing when their purpose for writing is to inform, to give facts, to give directions, to explain or define something. One of the most beneficial strategies is the use of a graphic organizer known as a pre-writing map. A pre-writing map will help students organize information and details that support their topic. Using the information generated on the pre-writing map, students can follow another graphic organizer, the sentence outline, to present their ideas in an organized way when they write their rough draft. This structure is clear and understandable, and students can easily follow it to produce a well-organized paragraph or essay. Now let's look at some strategies to help students learn the elements of persuasive writing. The purpose of persuasive writing is to get other people to see things your way, so learning to use opinion words is key. These words signal when a writer is expressing an opinion. The pre-writing map for persuasive writing is another strategy to help students develop the elements of persuasive writing. Students learn to include an opinion statement and several convincing reasons to back up their opinion statement. Then they provide supporting details. Using the information they've written on their pre-writing map, students can follow the sentence-by-sentence outline to write their persuasive paragraph or persuasive essay. It's the perfect strategy to guide students through a logical progression of ideas that the reader can easily follow. Persuasive writing uses the same three-point organizational structure as expository writing in order to present the persuasive argument. Students need strategies to help them accomplish descriptive writing. This type of writing requires students to paint a picture on paper with words as they describe a person, place, thing, or idea. They learn to choose words that show instead of tell. The pre-writing map will help them include the elements of descriptive writing, including sensory details. It is also helpful for students to develop certain details when they are describing people, places, an incident or event, or when describing a feeling. These lists will help them generate those details. Using the information they've generated on their pre-writing map, students can follow the sentence-by-sentence outline to write their descriptive paragraph or essay. Narrative writing is simply the telling of a story. These stories are commonly called narratives or short stories. Narrative writing has certain characteristics that make it different from other types of writing. These characteristics are known as story elements. A pre-writing map will help students generate their main idea, setting, characters, plot, and ending. The outline for narrative writing provides a logical order for students to combine their story elements to tell their story. Using the information they've generated on their pre-writing map, students can follow the outline to write their narrative paragraph or essay. After students complete their rough draft, they will continue following the steps of the writing process. In step 3, they will revise to improve content. During step 4, they will edit to correct mistakes. During step 5, students will write a final paper by rewriting their corrected rough draft. After they write their final paper, students can use the student rubric for narrative writing to do a final check. They will learn to compare their writing to each section of the rubric and make any corrections that are needed. And when they get to step 6, they will publish their work by sharing it with others. In summary of Quadrant 4, I'd like to recap the proven strategies to help students gain the knowledge, skills, and practice they need to write for all purposes. Teach them the distinct elements of each purpose for writing. Then teach them the beneficial graphic organizers to help them accomplish their purpose. Reinforce the steps of the writing process and utilize a writing rubric to ensure the elements of the genre have been included. Always remember the importance of teaching students good communication skills using language. The right foundation depends on it. Communication is the vehicle. Language is the road. Competent, confident communicators hold the keys. Thank you for attending this edition of the Shurley English Workshop Series. We encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel to view all of our language arts instructional videos. For more information about our curriculum, please visit us at www.shurley.com.